Gary, you know how Steppin with Marcus J. All right, this next story is going to really freak us all out because everybody that's listening for the most part, as well as those of us that are in the room, we're parents. We have children, and our children are, Tony, you got a teenager, I got a preteen. SY's children are grown. Ben is still listening to us. He's got a child. His child's a little younger. Little Vinny is listening. He's a little younger than Mama J. We all got children, and so when we have these stories that kind of affect children, for me, it's difficult to even have fun and joke with. This one I'm getting from the Huffington Post as well. This one is about a mom who stabs the kindergarten teacher in the classroom in front of the children. How crazy is that? Think about that. Now, thankfully, it ain't here in the United States, but it don't matter where it is because it's crazy no matter where it is. Police say that the mother of a pupil at a French preschool stabbed the teacher to death in front of her class on Friday, which was the last day of school. French President Francois Hollande expressed outrage at this, quote, abominable drama, and sent the education minister to the school in Albi in the south of France. Police officials in Albi said the mother attacked the teacher Friday at the school. Yes, it is the mother of a pupil who did it, the official said, who was not authorized to publicly be named, because he wasn't publicly engaged to speak, so it could have been a he or a she. The official wouldn't comment on the possible reasons. He just said that the teacher was leading a class of 5 to 6 year olds. According to the Albi mayor's office, Prime Minister Manuel Valls said the teacher was 34 years old. Such deadly attacks in a school are extremely rare in France because us here in America, we the only jackasses in the country to do this type of stuff normal. So in France, they still are feeling the scars from a shooting at a Jewish school in Toulouse in the south of France in 2012 that left 3 children and a rabbi dead. RTL Radio reported that the mother previously had problems with police after allegedly abandoning her 15-year-old child earlier this year and failing to help police search for the child. Fellow teacher Robert Kaufengal told BFM television that the school had never seen such violence and urged better protection for teachers and attention to tensions they face with the parents. So, Tony, you used to have a kindergarten a long time ago. I used to have a kindergarten a long time ago.
Long time ago.
Yeah, but I don't think that it matters how long ago it was for either of us because we're normal people and we realize that you don't just get to walk in a classroom and beat up the teacher, let alone put a knife in them. What's your thoughts when you hear a story like this?
Oh, golly. Golly.
Golly?
So.
Golly? You gonna just go with golly?
I mean, I can't.
Golly gee.
I can't imagine. For me, I always go mental state. What's going on with your mind? And you said she previously abandoned another one of her children.
She had abandoned a 15-year-old and refused to help them find the kid.
Gosh, man. I mean, it's sad that schools have become a place where you have to be afraid for your security. And especially from parents, their children are there. So you would think that, that would be a safe place, at least from the parents. And clearly to me, she's got something going on mentally, or maybe she's on drugs and just totally lost it. But I certainly think that, as far as, and I don't know what their child protective services is like over there, social services, and, how strict they are with, taking children away or, keeping the parents away from the children. But I think that there had to have been signs from someone somewhere that they should have intervened before this point. And that's very sad that a freaking preschool teacher gets killed in front of those kids.
Yeah, what? I mean, think about the mentality. We'll refer to him as the teenager. That's how you refer to him. So that's how we'll refer to him on the show. And Mama J, we know our children well. I know your son well. You, Mama J, is fairy. I always like to call you her fairy godmother because of how she feels about you. So think about them. Just think about them and their mentality, and think about what would be going on in our households if something like that happened right here in Richmond, Virginia. That's crazy. Yeah. That's crazy. Like, just crazy person rolled up in the classroom and got close enough to the teacher where they could take him out. Like, you took a knife. Like, what the hell was you
with
thinking?
a knife, right, and not came in there and shot her, but like came in there and stabbed him.
Like, you watch like these shows on like ID Discovery and all these kind of shows, and you've learned that a knife attack is one of the most personally violent attacks.
Yep.
It's more personal than beating someone up.
Yep.
It's more personal than shooting them. It's more personal than hitting them with a bat or whatever, because you can hit somebody with a bat and then you walk away in your mind thinking, it's just a bat. You stab somebody, you can pretty much be sure, depending on where you get them, that's going to pretty much be it for them.
Yeah.
And the kids in that room, and they actually saw it, and that's crazy to me. And this parent apparently was the parent of a child who was in that room. The kids saw it. They're not just other people's kids, but your kids saw it. So not only did you have a kid that's yours that saw their teacher die, but you got a kid who saw their parent take their teacher out.
You know, and what I'm thinking is probably going to happen is, you know, while I do believe there is some sort of mental health issue, I mean, I don't think she should ever be able to walk the streets again, let alone be around children. But, you know, I think somehow, some way, somebody's going to find, and I don't know much about the French judicial system, because you don't hear a lot of like crazy stories coming out of France, you know, like that stuff like that just really doesn't make the news. Yeah. So, I don't know what their judicial system is like, but I know for most of Europe, you know, they're kind of against the death penalty, you know, extradite and all that stuff for us, because they just think that we're just barbaric with how we, you know, handle criminals. But I don't know. I don't see where she would be punished the way she would be here, and that's
I think
unfortunate.
The unfortunate thing is we've gotten to the point in our country that crime is so prevalent because dyers are so, you know, people are so in dire straits. Not saying that this person is, but just you know, a lot of poverty and a lot of bad situations cause people to make bad decisions, where, you know, you've had to alter the laws to the point where people going to just go to jail, man. Yeah. You go to jail forever. But then there's injustices with the judicial. I saw a story earlier. I don't have it right in front of me, but I had a story earlier. The guy had minimum charge of 25 years, but they sentenced him to 75. Like, why you do that for? They did that because of the 13th Amendment, which says if you're in jail, you could be good old slave again. So that's why they do it. But in this country, of course, we know we overcharge and we sentence. But when you hear a story like that in another country, of course, you think of it with American thought process.
Absolutely.
And to me, that's scary. Ain't no have step on Marcus. I'm gonna take a different turn. Tony, you want to take a different turn with me?
Let's do it.
We're gonna turn like the next stuff I want to get into. I kind of want to talk a little bit about free speech. You want to talk about free speech? You know anything about free speech? You ever heard of it before?
Yeah, a little bit.
You heard of it?
A little bit.
Okay, all right. Well, I'm not going to tease the last story. I'm going to come to that this last for a reason. But the first one I want to get to is about a competitor of ours, and they get good numbers like we do. You know, Sirius XM. You know, them people. They get good numbers. I think we do better than them.
Absolutely.
Yeah. But they fired a longtime host of a show called Opie and Anthony. Opie and Anthony. Opie and Anthony is a comedy team that has been together for a long time. They were together long before the creation of Sirius XM, before Sirius XM merged and became Sirius XM. They've been together forever. Anthony Camilla. I'm getting this again from the Huffington Post. Y'all know I love the Huffington Post. I'm always on the Huffington Post. But, you know, one day I'll go and look at the right side articles if the right side articles have legitimate stuff for me to look at. But Opie and Anthony is a radio show. Anthony Camilla, he had been fired by Sirius XM, which cited his racially charged and hate-filled remarks on Twitter as the reason. His remarks and postings, including tweets and retweets, were said to be degrading to women and abhorrent to SiriusXM. This is what spokesperson Patrick Riley said on Friday. The shock jock was fired on Thursday. His response on Friday on Twitter included an obscenity in relation to SiriusXM. I guess he ain't learned a lesson. He said he was fired over material that was not aired and was not legal. It was not aired and was not legal. I'm going to have a comment on that in a minute. Earlier in the week, he posted tweets and photos about what he said was an attack on him as he took photos in Times Square. He said a woman, angered at being photographed, called him a white mother, and you can guess what that next word is, and then repeatedly punched him. He said he defended himself without hitting back. In subsequent tweets about the confrontation, Camille let loose a string of profanity and insults about the black woman, including describing her as, quote, pig-faced worthless and using anti-female expletive. And this is a quote, "This was an animal. I should have smashed its face," he wrote. In later tweets, after being condemned as a racist in some Twitter postings, Camille said he was a victim and was being unfairly derided over his views on violence in the black community. Asked by a Twitter poster if he had reported the attack to authorities, Camille responded that he could take punches without wasting the police time. There's more to it. I'm looking for the actual quotes, which I actually saw, and I'm going to get them as we kind of flesh out what our opinions are on this one. I saw some of the actual things that he actually wrote in his Twitter post that led to him being fired, which is a little bit more aggressive than what I actually just read to you. But as we kind of get started, Tony, let's kind of jump in a little bit first, and I'll ask you a question, just a direct question. Do you think that it's fair for a radio personality to be fired for something that they said in the public, but not in the public in the sense of their radio show? For example, if someone said something that worked for us here at Legacy Internet Radio that was unconnected to Legacy Internet Radio, do you think that that's something that we could let them go for, just in your opinion?
To me, it depends on what they say, and I think that any business owner, no matter how big or small, you want to maintain a certain face in the community, and and also a certain image, and I just think that not that he can't speak freely, but you're a well-known person and you represent this company. And I think they have the right, if they feel that your actions are not conducive and the sort of image that they want to be connected with them as an organization, then yeah, they can fire you. And I can understand that, because I don't own my own business per se, but you still are always kind of a representative of that organization, just like you are a representative of your parents.
Right.
At all times.
I think people forget about that. I know that Moms J and Pops J, particularly Pops J, impressed upon me that I'm always going to be their child. And so I'd be wise to remember that when I'm in public.
That's right. That's right.
In the event that I mess around and say or do something, I'm their kid. So if I say something or do something that may not reflect how I was raised, do so at your own peril. I did find the actual tweet. It was deleted, which is the reason why I had trouble getting it in the beginning, but I have found screenshots of it. And so one of the quotes that he has: savage, violent, animal, F word, prey on white people, easy targets. This C word has no clue how lucky she was. She belted me 10 times. I had a gun. Apparently he takes a picture of her. This next tweet that he has is so expletive filled that I honestly can't even make out what he's trying to say. But it is a pic that he says, great pic of I think he's saying the C word again. Animal, pig, face, worthless, meat, sack of S word, pile, stink, and more. That's so vile that I won't even I know what he's saying. I won't even repeat it. I think I put it out there enough what he's saying about her. And he's talking about a woman. And so based on his interpretation of what happened, Allegedly, this was someone who attacked him, and he chose not to call the police because he figured they could handle it. So there's no record of what this person allegedly did to him. So all we can go by is him publicly saying what his response to it was. So do you think, in your opinion, I'm just asking your opinion, that freedom of speech is something that should take place here and he should not or should have been fired?
I think he should have been fired. Absolutely. And not saying that, this woman was right in beating him up, which it sounds like she did. But again, you are and he's a public figure. Like, people know who he is. He's well known. And again, people hear your name and they associate you with Sirius. So that's not what Sirius wants out there. And yeah, fire him. And that's a lot. I hate the C word. I'm sorry. Like, when you say the C word, to me, you should go to hell immediately.
Yeah. No, you don't get the pass go. You don't get no $200.
No, I hate it. Oh my gosh.
No,
it's horrible.
The C word to you is probably like the N word for me. It's like certain buzzwords that you don't get to say. I don't care how mad you are. Figure out some other kind of way to express that you mad. You don't get to say that. Ain't no half stepping with Marcus J. The next one that I want to get into is the story that we've got about Joan Rivers. It's similar to what we just talked about with Opie and Anthony, or Anthony Camilla, I should say. But this one is about Joan Rivers. And we know Joan Rivers. She's a comic. She has been in the public eye forever. I mean, I remember Joan Rivers from when I was a young person. She used to host the Tonight Show prior to Arsenio Hall. I used to watch, not the Tonight Show, whatever show it was that Arsenio took over in the 90s. Joan Rivers was one of the folks that used to host it before that. So she's been on my radar since back then. And she has also said some pretty incendiary things. This time is about the president of the United States. Now, it's hard to tell. I'm getting this one from Entertainment This at usatoday.com. It's hard to tell if she was joking when she said what she said about the president or not. But what she actually said was that the president is gay. Everyone knows, quote, she says. And the First Lady, Michelle Obama, she's called the First Lady, Michelle Obama, a tranny. Yes, you heard me right. You heard me right, Tony. She said, Joan Rivers said that the president of the United States is gay and the First Lady of the United States is a tranny. And so this is Joan Rivers. And so, you got a lot of people who want to give her a pass because she's a comic. And, I had a debate in social media with one of my brothers, one of my white brothers, and I'll state that he's a white brother because of some of the things he said that he alludes to. He makes it, makes it clear, with his political allegiance in the blog. And I'm going to read some of that just to kind of flesh out the discussion. But my question to you, Tony, is there a line that should or should not be crossed when it comes to comedy? And I wish I had Jay Grizzy or Lissa P here to really ask that question. Unfortunately, we don't. But when we're talking about comedy in the interest of making jokes, is there a line that should not be crossed? It was the line crossed when Joan Rivers said that the president of the United States is gay and that his wife, the First Lady, is a tranny. Did she go too far, or are people being sensitive?
Honestly, comedians, that's what they do, is they make jokes and they try to make people laugh. And comedians have joked about all the other presidents. So I can't, in all fairness and equality, say that she went too far, because I've heard horrible jokes about other presidents too. So
okay, all right, fair enough. I want to get in some of the discussion that I had with my brother Joe, another brother I went to high school with. Joe is a Republican, and in the interest of full disclosure, we know that some Republicans have issues with the president. that we have right now, and some folks that we have right now had issues with the last president. And so we know that the ridicule that President George Bush was pretty strong when he was in office from folks on the right. So when I posted this article, Joe's response was freedom of speech. She's a comedian. Why take serious anything that she says, which is essentially what you said, Tony. Mm-hmm. My response to that was, I agree with you, but with one caveat. If someone calls us out our name, we have a response. Some weak-minded folks even respond inappropriately. We have freedom of speech, but those we offend also have freedom to respond. You call a woman a derogatory name, you get whatever wrath she decides to lay upon you. So to that response, you say what, Tony? What do you say?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they can respond, and I think that, I don't know, I'm one who like jokes about everything, and I like to laugh, and I know the importance of laughter. But when it comes to, like you said, if somebody used the N-word towards the president, yeah, that's not funny, and that's crossing the line. But I mean, saying he's gay and his wife is a tranny, I mean, she looks like a tranny too. But
do you have no issue with that because of the comedy aspect, or is it because you think she looks like a tranny?
Comedy.
So
not if she called him the N-word. That's a problem. But it's comedy. Okay,
all right. I mean, I have my feelings about that, but we'll get into that here in a minute. I get into it continuously with Joe here, and I mentioned to him that I know comedians. I work with comedians, and I also know that comedians who go too far suffer consequences. I cited Michael Richards, who dropped the N-bomb, and we saw how his career was never the same. Joe says that he's not a fan of the current president, so it doesn't bother him. He's also a huge fan of W, and it was stuff about him, particularly in the movie W. People's opinions, public or private, are just their opinions. I come back to Joe, and I say to him, you ain't got to be a fan to understand that sometimes folks, they actually go too far. I acknowledge to him that people went hard after George W. Bush. There's no question that they did. But when you go after folks on policy and on stuff that's fact, for example, a lot of people went after George W. Bush for not being a real smart guy. Well, guess what?
And that's my thought. Like, you're stupid. That's like...
Well, I won't call him stupid because he was the president, but the reality is he got C's in college. That's on his transcript. Indeed. But it ain't nowhere on the transcript that the president is gay and his wife's a tranny. You know what I mean? So to me, that's the difference. And that's the reason why that free speech to me was a flawed argument, because folks hide behind it when they say stupid, hateful things. And I suggested to Joe, let somebody call you something out your name in your local watering hole and see what you say. Are you going to say, you know what, it's just funny, you say what you want? Or you going to want to throw hands with the dude, or at minimum have words with him?
I mean, there's a time and a place. I mean, if we're joking around, then yeah. But if we're having a serious conversation and, some disrespectful things come out, then yeah, I mean, you address them. But it's Joan Rivers. Like, who really takes her serious anyway?
No, I can dig it. The whole who really takes her serious, though, I think we need to be careful with that, because the reason why we need to be careful with that is if we create a climate of where we can say anything we want to anybody whenever we want to, we can have people feeling comfortable to really, really go to the next level. Ain't no Steppin with Marcus J. What I want to do right now is introduce my co-host, who just walked in the door, and I want her opinion on this. So I'm going to give her the introduction that she thoroughly deserves, because I miss her and I love her and I ain't seen her in a week. But then I want her to jump her ass right into the story here. And so without any further ado, I got my sister, I got my partner in crime, and my co-host, who's got this big-ass weird hat on, my sister, S.Y. Butler. What's up, girl? So
How are
you look like the crocodile hunter's black sister right now.
Are you serious?
Yeah, man.
This is.
I am looking
Audrey
inside of the crocodile's mouth, and right now he has another human being. Oh my God, that's like kind of weird.
Where was that from?
I don't know. I was
Thank you, because
trying to
I'm
channel
totally
the crocodile
lost, man.
hunter, but
Like I need a compass.
the
right
Australian
now. I'm
accent
so
didn't
lost.
work. Okay, but neither is the hat.
Oh, that was your
Ooh,
Australian
whoa.
accent?
I mean, everybody can't do a good British like you do.
You know, I'm so in love with the British accent.
Terribly.
I heard a few people talk today,
Oh, here you go.
and then I heard Mr. Sexy talk.
When you hear me, we ain't talk today.
I was about to say, who
You ain't
Mr.
got
Sexy?
no accent either.
Oh, you said Mr. Sexy. I thought you were talking about me.
Where he at?
Idris Elba.
Oh, him.
Oh.
Oh, him.
God.
God, I'm sorry, y'all. I
That was
almost had to go
Angels.
take another
Oh.
shower.
Him.
That was Angel.
Taking a shower. Don't tell me
almost
you
had to
grabbed
go
the little
take another
sprouter and you moved the sprouter to
I
a
had to take the
place.
shower head off. I was like, speak to me, baby.
You know, actually though, I
Yeah.
like, to me, he loses a lot of his appeal when I hear his accent.
What?
He's not. I like to hear him as like
That's
It's
Stringer
gone.
Bell.
Exactly.
That's Stringer
I
Bell.
need that thug.
It's gone when he
Idris.
acts like he's American. He's still fine as all Hades,
Oh,
but
absolutely.
he loses.
You know,
that
people always mistake
sex
me for him
appeal.
though. Like whenever I go places, people mistake me for him. Like everybody has like
Yeah.
their famous doppelganger,
Yeah.
and people always say that I remind him of Idris Elba.
Yeah.
It's just crazy.
I cannot see that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah, if he was just a little bit shorter,
Not much. Just
just a little bit, like a foot.
yeah.
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 Oh,
And
I don't want to talk about him no more.
he didn't hear what I
Yeah, I
said.
don't want to
y'all.
talk
He
about
didn't
him.
get that.
No, I
He
did.
didn't catch it.
No,
y'all.
trust me, I did. Ain't no half step with Marcus J.
But I do want to say something.
Go for it, my sister.
Joan Rivers.
Yes.
She is an insulting human being. And I think she should not get a pass. And it is disrespectful on any level. And it's not just because it's Barack Obama. It's just disrespectful, period. It is the President of the United States. We all have some that we like or dislike, or we may not even have any feelings about at all. But it's disrespectful. Now she, on the other hand, is very insulting. She always insults people.
that's what she does.
Yeah, but come on. At what point do you say, okay, this is not funny? I think that this is her way of really getting out who Joan Rivers is.
Mm-hmm.
And that little lamb chop of hers is the same way. You know? So I don't think she deserves a pass for it. I think she needs to learn how to watch her mouth. I mean, she's like, what, 90 now or so, close to it?
92.
You know, when the next facelift breaks and the cheekbones drop, let's see what happens.
See, you going there. You just as bad as she is calling
I
her
know.
out like
I
that.
don't like her. And you know what?
Well,
At
maybe
some
she don't like
point-
the president.
And at some point, like you said, you know what? We're going to come to words, or we're going to come to fists or whatever. So here we are, and we're coming to words, because I don't like her. I think she needs to calm it down a bit.
Yeah, but you
I-
calling her out like that. That's just as bad as her.
Okay.
Okay.
I'm
But it's-
taking up for the president
But
of the
see,
United
it's hard,
States.
and see, I'm gonna take you to task on that because it's hard to give her a hard time for making jokes about the president while in our critique of her, we criticize her. To that you say
Okay.
what?
So?
Okay, well, if so is all you
So
got,
it's
then
like when your kids are fighting, or you see two little kids fighting in the playground or whatever. Now, how would you like it if I did that to you, or how would you like it if I pinched you, or whatever? Okay, so now how you like it if I say something about you?
I can dig it, but I still think that's a flawed argument. I think it's a flawed argument because,
Because I criticized her.
well, I mean, criticism is one thing, insult is a different thing.
That's what she did.
Okay, but I mean, are you gonna make the argument that two wrongs make a right?
Only if you multiply.
Okay, all right. I can't
Ooh,
talk
and
to you about
square.
this. Ain't no half stuff with Marcus Jack. We're gonna take our first break of the night,
Make it positive.
and when we come back, my sister as well is gonna be so damn happy with me because we are doing what segment? We doing random. We doing random, and I got our surprise coming at the top of the next segment for SY. my co-host, and my girl, Miss Tony, and our special guest who will grab the mic in the next segment. Marcus J. Ain't no half stepping in the crew. We shall be back in a minute.